If you had $100 million, you could buy a commercial airplane. A modern narrow-body jet like the Airbus A320neo or Boeing 737 MAX costs around $120 million. A wide-body aircraft like the Airbus A350 can exceed $300 million. At first glance, this looks like the ultimate asset, a machine that crosses continents, carrying hundreds of passengers every single day. But there is a hidden question underneath it. How does something that depreciates generate long-term wealth? In aviation, the answer is not flying, it is structure. The aviation industry is not one system. It is two systems stacked on top of each other. Airlines move people. Lessors own the assets. One side operates motion, the other prices exposure. And the gap between these two layers is where modern aviation finance exists. Most passengers never see this separation. To them, the airline and the aircraft feel identical, but in reality, they are often not. The aircraft may belong to an entirely different company. Companies like AerCap, Air Lease Corporation, and SMBC Aviation Capital. Think of an aircraft not as transportation, but as mobile infrastructure. A shopping mall earns money because activity happens inside it. An aircraft works in a similar way, but with one critical difference: it moves. If a shopping mall loses demand, it becomes trapped. But an aircraft does not stay trapped. If an airline fails, the aircraft does not fail with it. It leaves, it is repainted, reconfigured, and released into another market where demand still exists. Global demand does not disappear, it shifts. And the aircraft follows that shift. Most aircraft owners do not operate aircraft themselves. They lease them. This is called a dry lease. The airline operates everything: crew, fuel, maintenance, routes. The lessor provides only the asset and receives structured payments over time. A narrow-body aircraft can generate roughly $200,000 to $400,000 per month, depending on age and market conditions. But the important point is not the number. It is the separation. Cash flow is detached from operation. So why do airlines accept this structure? Because aviation is structurally fragile. Revenue fluctuates constantly. Fuel prices move globally. Demand shifts without warning, and disruptions spread fast. Weather, strikes, geopolitics, economic cycles. Airlines operate in constant volatility. Leasing converts capital burden into operational flexibility. But flexibility always comes with trade-offs. Risk does not disappear, it moves. This is the key misunderstanding in aviation. Leasing does not remove risk, it redistributes it. To make this system work, multiple buffers exist: maintenance reserves, security deposits, insurance structures, financing layers, all designed to absorb volatility. But they depend on one assumption: that the system continues moving. Because aircraft only generate value when they are active. When movement stops, financial pressure becomes visible. An aircraft is not a single machine. It is a system of components linked to financial obligations. Engines represent a major portion of life cycle cost. Maintenance is not optional, it is scheduled and mandatory. A major engine overhaul can cost several $million per engine, depending on type and condition. The real risk is not the cost itself, it is timing. When an airline fails mid-cycle, obligations do not disappear. They shift back into the structure. Aircraft value also changes over time. Not through sudden collapse, but through gradual competition. New aircraft are more efficient, but adoption is slow, because production is constrained and fleets are massive. Older aircraft do not disappear. They move down the system, from premium routes to secondary markets to cargo conversion. Value does not vanish, it migrates. In 2022, after Western sanctions were imposed on Russia, hundreds of leased aircraft were suddenly trapped in legal and financial limbo. Billions of dollars in assets became entangled in jurisdictional conflict. The aircraft themselves still existed, but ownership control became fragmented. The system revealed a deeper truth. Aircraft ownership only works when global legal frameworks align. Then comes leverage. Most aircraft are financed, not fully owned. Debt amplifies returns in good times, but it also amplifies fragility in downturns. When lease income is stable, the system appears solid, but when demand weakens, cash flow compresses. And if asset value drops below debt exposure, ownership can restructure quickly. Not through physical failure, through financial reality. So what you are looking at is not just aviation, it is a financial architecture, designed to separate motion from ownership, and operation from exposure. Airlines operate inside volatility, lessors operate inside capital structure, and the aircraft sits between them as the bridge. Passengers see travel, operators see logistics, banks see collateral, lessors see duration and risk. So should you buy an airplane? If you want stability, the answer is no, but if you understand how global systems work, it becomes something else entirely. A mobile asset, a financial instrument, a contract moving through global demand. Because in aviation, what moves through the sky is not just people, it is structured risk,